Here's his actual introduction. He's Rocket for this conference. If you know, I don't know if that's very nice. Rocket is a small raccoon with a bad attitude. So I don't know. Ethan's regular sized and isn't mean, but that's who they gave him for this one. As ComTech's Chief Operations Officer, so that's pretty serious, Ethan navigates the digital cosmos, safeguarding our clients from cyber criminals. He has a decade of tenure at ComTech and has helped create our Cyber Hero Academy. So I wanted to point out, on your table there, you have a little card that says Calling All Cyber Heroes, and on the back, it talks all about the Cyber Hero Academy, which I think, correct me if I'm wrong, is to train your people on how to be better with cybersecurity. So if you're interested in that sort of stuff, that is one of the services they provide, and Ethan is the person who helped to create that, where we train your staff to become cyber-savvy protectors of your business. When he's not speaking at our educational events or producing YouTube videos for our clients or waking up at 3:30 a.m. To do Snapchat and read a book, he enjoys being involved at his church and hiking with his wife and their 2 dogs. Please welcome to the stage, Ethan Farlow. Awesome. Thank you, Dave. Good morning. So this presentation is going to be a little bit different. As I know Mike said, that we're not trying to sell you anything. I designed this presentation so we could talk about the things that you guys already have access to. So tell me if you guys can relate to this. You come to your office, it's 8 a.m., you've got your fresh cup of joe, you're fresh, fired, and focused, you're ready to get after the day. You blink, and you look up at the clock and go, God, where did the day go? You know, it just flew by. And you obviously want to pull your hair out, and then you look at your email, and you see that these crazy guys at ComTech, you see that they're sending you an email after email after email saying, are you coming to this webinar? Have you seen this new tool? Are you using this new thing? And you're sitting back going, is there a chance that I can just sit back with the tools that I'm already paying for, and can I use the tools that I have to be more productive? I don't want to buy anything new. I want to use what I have. This is a conversation that I hear all the time from our clients where we talk about a new product and they say, can we just pull off the backpack of tools that we have, and are my people using what we're paying for now before I buy a new tool? So that was the whole point of this presentation. Now, hopefully you guys learn the same way that I do. I learn best by not giving a bunch of tools and saying, hey, here's a bunch of tips and tricks. You can use it 50 million ways. I learn better by you saying, I use it this way every single day. This is how I use it. Give you real world examples. So that's the whole agenda. I've got one item on the agenda here. Run through a typical day at ComTech. So I want to go through some of the tools that I use every day that you guys almost certainly have access to in your Office 365 license. And I want to talk about that and talk about how I use those tools in a little bit of a different way. Now, I'm going to hit you with a lot of information. We're going to go over a lot in the next 37 minutes. Write down, obviously, as many notes as you can. But my point here is take 1 to 3 items from this speech and take them and say, okay, I'm going to start implementing that on Monday. And actually, I urge you to take action. Because if you take action on 1 to 3, I really believe that if you keep piling these things together, you're going to get 10, 20, 30 minutes a day back, and maybe even more. Have any of you ever went out to office.com and clicked up in the top left and clicked more apps, as I'm doing here in this video? If you click that and then you click all apps, you will see that there are a ton of apps built into Microsoft. And typically what I see is people use the main 4, Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and they don't touch all these other ones. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to say, okay, let's select 6 apps that I don't see used very often, and I want to talk about how I use them almost every single day. With those 6 apps, here's a better screenshot of it, but with those 6 apps, let's see who's using these. So I'm going to go to the QR code here that I have, and if we can go to that QR code, Austin. Perfect. Can you guys pull out your phone really quick and scan this QR code? I'm not asking you to, I'm not asking you for your email. There's only 2 questions in there. The first question is, select the products that you're familiar with, so you know what they do. And then the next question is, select all the products that you actually use, you use often, use on a weekly basis, something like that. And I'll give you guys just a minute to do this. And I'll actually throw up the results. Let me go ahead and throw up the results. Let's see what happens. And hopefully this live survey works. We will see how everything goes. And if I need to go back to the QR code, or the QR code is there on the left. Has anyone submitted the thing? I love it when things don't work in a live presentation. That's awesome. Okay, well, we're just going to assume that you guys don't use all of these products, and this is all going to be brand new. So there is not a refresh naturally. Yeah, let me try it. Let me give it a go. All right. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the next section. So we're going to assume, again, that all of you don't use these products. I can get that survey to you guys later. I apologize about that. We tested it multiple times. But, so my gut is, based on all the people that I've spoken with, my gut is that a lot of these products you guys are not using on a day-to-day basis. You may be using some of them, but hopefully today I'm going to show you how to use them in a different fashion. Let's start with OneNote. So at 8 a.m., I sit down at my desk, and the way that I work is I pull out OneNote. OneNote is, if you don't know what it is an online notebook. I'm sure there's plenty of people here in the room that have a spiral-bound notebook sitting on their desk. They write everything down, they flip to the next page, it's the next day. Well, with OneNote, it is that. It's just an online version. It allows you to sync across your mobile phone, your tablet, so I can have my notes anywhere. Of course, it makes my notes searchable, which is super nice, because I can go back and look at 5 or 7 years ago. I can look at exactly what I was doing. And then the unlimited storage, eventually, with a spiral-bound notebook, there's nothing wrong with using a spiral-bound notebook, but eventually, you're going to run out of space. You're going to have to start a new one. Well, with OneNote, what I do is when I sit down at 8 a.m., I create a weekly and a daily schedule. Now, this is the way I work. I'm going to give you 2 different ways to use OneNote because I know not everybody's going to create a weekly and daily schedule. Maybe your job doesn't allow you to be, it requires you to be a little bit more reactive, and that's fine. Well, with OneNote, on the left-hand side, you'll see that you have what they call sections. So I have a section called task and one called long-term. And then on the right-hand side, I've got what's called pages. So I've got a page for the week, and then I've got a page for every day. Now, the way that I do it is I create my weekly schedule. And I say, okay, I want to list every single thing down that I need to try to get done. I don't always get everything done, but I list every single thing down. And then I create a daily schedule. So this was this week. I created a schedule for Monday and said, okay, I'm going to pull a couple of things off. These are the things I'm going to focus on. And then Wednesday, I did the exact same thing, and so forth. By the end of the week, I pull up on Friday, I pull up the weekly schedule. It should look something like this. It should be, most things are marked off, and then I'm going to create my daily schedule for today, like I did this morning. And I only have 2 things to do here. Plan the next big mission with Star-Lord, which I'll get with Mike to do that. And then, of course, write good jokes for Connect. My jokes may not be as good as Dave's, but I can tell one. Does anyone have any idea what Groot's favorite game is? Hide and treat. That was a knee slapper. All right, I had to throw it in. Okay, so I know that not everybody, again, as I was saying earlier, not everybody can do a presentation or can do a weekly and daily schedule. So if you want to use OneNote differently, you certainly can you see that I've got a section called long-term, and I've got my management meetings in there. I've got employee reviews in there. It allows you to have much more structure for your notes versus a spiral-bound notebook. And then I also have one called clients. And you can see I've got 3 clients listed there. These are 3 great clients that will actually be on the panel with me a little bit later talking about budgeting. But you can see I've got every single meeting I have with those clients. I have all of my notes in there, and it makes it so much easier to search and to go back and look at your notes. Now, once I have my notes, I've made my weekly and daily schedule. Now, because I am an office manager, I've got to work with a team. I'm going to meet with my team. Now, the way that I do this is Microsoft Teams. Just out of curiosity, show of hands, who is using Microsoft Teams? Primarily because my survey didn't work. Thank you. Okay, so a lot of you, so that's good. Teams is an online collaboration tool. It means you can chat and video internally and possibly externally, but you can chat with your team. This has become much more important as we all work from home. And because here at ComTech, almost all of our people work from home. So all being able to get into one virtual room and see each other is very beneficial. When I request from my team, hey, I want to meet with you. We want to talk about the daily task. You can see here I'm saying, hey, is everyone available for a quick chat? And Samantha said, not right now. Now, what I typically see is most people go in the chat and say, okay, what about 10 o'clock? What about 11 o'clock? And then it's a whole lot of back and forth. Well, Microsoft built something in there for you. If you click on the down arrow beside the video icon, you can click schedule a meeting. And it will tell you, it will pull up the scheduling assistant. It's going to look at all of your calendars, and it's going to figure out for you when's the next available time. You don't have to keep going this back and forth stuff. And this is so valuable to me, this is so valuable of a tip, that I actually created a video internally for my staff, for our newer staff that comes on board. If they message me and say, are you available? And I say, use scheduling assistant. If they say, I don't know how to do that, I send them the video that shows them how to do this. Because it's that important, because it's just so easy. It makes life so much better, and we don't have that back and forth. When I'm in the meeting, what I typically do is I'm going to record the meeting. I record almost every single one of my meetings. Even if it's internal, I still record it. Now, I'll be honest, probably 95% of those meetings, I never go back and watch. It's probably 99%. They eventually expire. I don't watch them. But I record them anyway because I want to be able to document certain things in the meeting if something good comes up. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. So in Teams, if I record the meeting, it's going to have a little view recap button there. If I click that, I can then go back and watch the meeting if I would like. Now, how many of you, or have you ever sat in a meeting, maybe you're talking with your CEO, you're on a video call, and you say, hey, Joe from accounting, he had a question about why our paid time off policy was 2 weeks instead of 3 weeks. Like, how did we make that decision, whatever it may be? And just nonchalant, the CEO, he just rattles off this long monologue about, well, we analyzed all these things and we did all these things. And at the end of it, you're going, if I had that explanation, I wish I could have documented that explanation. And then that way, every new employee that comes to me and says, why did we pick this software over this software? Why did we do this over this? You can have all of that information. And that's the reason why I document almost all of my meetings. So if you document them, when you do a recording in Microsoft Teams, it's going to drop directly into Microsoft Stream. Microsoft named all of these things very similar. But Microsoft Stream is an internal YouTube. Think of it that way. It is a document library for your company. Now, it's very, very handy when you start using it. So I'll show you right here. If I go into, again, office.com, and I click on Stream, you'll see all of I've got a ton of videos there, but if I click on this video, you'll see this was a meeting about new user setups. And I'm doing something in Copilot here, which we'll talk briefly about in the next section, but you have the ability to then go back and watch that meeting. You can watch it on 2x speed if you would like. I like doing that personally, so that way I can move a little quicker. But a couple things I wanted to point out. The first thing is, You can, of course, document that meeting as far as put a title on it, put a description, say, hey, we talked about this. You can, of course, edit the video as well. You don't have to have all the pieces. Maybe you just wanted the part where the CEO said, this is why our paid time off policy is what it is. And then up in the top right, you can share that with the whole team. There's a number of times where I have meetings, somebody says something that I feel like is genius, I record that, and I'm able to grab that and immediately get it out to the entire team and say, we just had a meeting, this came up, and I just want to make sure everybody was aware. And then the third thing is Copilot. Now, Copilot is a paid piece. So this is a little bit separate, but I wanted to throw it in there as a little bit of a teaser. Copilot plugs into a lot of the Office products, and it gives you a recap, and it'll give you tasks, it'll give you all kinds of things. We'll go into that a little bit later. Now, I've made my task, I've met with my team, I've recorded a meeting. The next thing is I'm gonna have to work on some sort of documents. I'm gonna work on a presentation like this. I'm gonna use something like OneDrive. So OneDrive, if you're not familiar with it, think of it somewhat similar to Dropbox or Google Drive. It's just, instead of storing things locally on your computer, you're going to store them in OneDrive, which means that they will sync across all your devices if you have multiple machines, and then you can share those files either internally with the company or externally. And the other big thing, which I'll show you here in a minute, is a seamless desktop experience, so if you have multiple machines. One of the first pushbacks that I get, I wouldn't say pushback, maybe feedback that I get from using OneDrive is, as you can see in this video, some people say, hey, if it's an online file repository, we're putting files up there, I don't know if my users want to open up a web browser every time they want to get to their documents. They're used to using File Explorer. They're used to saving things in their documents folder. Well, OneDrive can be built right into your computer to where it's in your File Explorer, so the users don't really know any difference. It makes it very, very handy. Your users don't have to change the way they're working. It can go straight there. The next thing that I had talked about was the ability to share things. So if I right-click on a folder, I click Share, I can easily put some basic information. If I just put, share this with Hunter at ComTech NC, I could do that. Or I can click on the advanced settings and say, hey, I want to share this and I want it to expire on a certain date, whatever it may be. An idea there would be if you shared it with your entire internal team and said, hey, the food agenda for our big annual event at the end of the year is here. You need to update your food order by this date or the link's going to go away. Like kind of force everybody to do what you're asking them to do. And then one of the other things that is nice in File Explorer is you can see very easily what is shared, what folders, what documents are shared, because they're going to have that little person icon there. Now, once you share something, you can see here Hunter and I were actually in this same document together. I don't really expect me to be in the same document as Hunter working on a Word document together. Him and I, we're in sync, but we're not that in sync where we're finishing each other's sentences. But what I do see a lot is we have multiple Excel files shared for sales and operations and marketing, and we're all in those documents together because we have different tabs. So it's much easier to share things and all be in the document and see where everybody's at. Now, can I get a show of hands of who has multiple machines in here? You've got a laptop, you've got a desktop. Okay, you got multiple machines. So one of the frustrations with multiple machines, if you're not using something like OneDrive, is, I saved a document at, I've got a home machine. I saved a document at home, I pull out my laptop because I get on an airplane, and now that document's back on my home machine. It's sitting on the desktop. I should have emailed it to myself, that sort of thing. Well, with OneDrive, you can have a seamless desktop experience. So you can see this is one of my home machines. I've got two different houses that I work out of. The first house, you can see I've got Rocket sitting here on the moon, and I've got the two folders, Items and Guardians of the Galaxy. On the next home desktop, totally different picture, and you can see the exact same items up there in the top. And then on my laptop, same thing. It makes it so simple. When I work, I work every day, I work in one house, I save things on the desktop, and then I go to the next house, or I pull up my laptop, and I immediately have all my documents. Very, very handy. I wanted to go back one slide because I wanted to point this guy out. I went into AI and said, I want a picture of Rocket and Star-Lord dancing, having a dance-off on the moon. And this is what it created. Now, that's some Freddy Krueger, woolly bully version of Star-Lord, but I'm telling you this because in the next section, I'll tell you if you're using AI and you get something like that, I'll tell you how to fix it. I worked with our marketing team, and they told me how to fix that and make it look a lot better. As a little bit of a recap on OneDrive, you can do a lot of things with it, but I use it. We have a management meeting every single week, and we have a lunch menu. It's the management team's responsibility to update their lunch menu. If you don't update the lunch menu, you don't get lunch. I'm saying this because I see a lot of times where people, whoever's organizing a meeting, they say, hey, email me your order, and then they take the order, and then they put it on the Word document, whatever it may be. It's much easier to say, here's a link, it's going to expire on Friday, you need to go and update your order. And then same thing for meeting notes, employee reviews. If you're not saving them in OneDrive, maybe you're needing, or in OneNote, you need to save them in OneDrive. Maybe if you had to have somebody sign a Word document or something like that. And then for anyone that is in here that owns your business, I personally put my personal info in here. I put my tax information. I put a lot of information. I don't recommend you doing that if you do not own your business. You may want to talk to your boss. My boss is my father, so I'm hoping he does not fire me. But I've been okay for now. Now, I went through, I'm getting about halfway through the day. Of course, I have to eat some lunch. So once I get done eating lunch, I open up my Outlook. Now it's time to look at and see who needs me, who needs to have a meeting, what do we need to talk about. A lot of times I'll have a lot of you emailing, a lot of clients emailing, and vendors saying, hey, I want to have a meeting. I'm going to use something like Bookings. Now, Bookings is an online availability tool. I'll show you what it looks like here in just a second. Can I get another show of hands of how many people in the room have ever emailed with me, emailed back and forth to me? Okay, a significant portion of you. That's awesome. Well, I don't know. It may not be awesome for you. But if you email with me and you ask me for, hey, I need a time on your calendar, when are you available? What I'm going to do is hit reply. I'm going to right-click on my email signature, and I'm going to choose a totally separate signature that says Ethan Book. When I choose that, it's then going to add that other line that says, please click here to schedule a 30-minute meeting. So it just takes me 2 seconds to right-click, say, there we go, and done. And what ends up happening is you get a page like this where then you can go and select the time based on my calendar. Now, a lot of times I hear the first reaction I get to this is, well, what happens if they select a time that is not good for me? Like, how do I know they're not going to select a time at 9 o'clock at night? I'm going to give you some basic slides here. We can go in offline. We can go into the advanced settings together. But you control what the people see on the other end of that link. So it's not like they're just automatically going to be able to book at 9 o'clock at night. You can restrict it down to 1:30 to 2:30. I mean, you can really restrict it down. You also can restrict it down to where, hey, no one's allowed to book an appointment unless we have, 3 hours before now and then. That way somebody doesn't click the link and say, I'm going to book an appointment for 15 minutes from now, and you don't have any time to prep. You've got a lot of different options. I promise I did not realize how many times I asked you guys to raise your hand, but I'm going to ask you again, and that is, how many of you are using something like this now? Like you're sending links out. Okay, that's good. That's really good. A lot of times I don't see a lot of hands when that's asked. And one final thing that I'll talk about here is when people start to use this, because it is a little different, some people say, well, I don't want to come off as rude. I don't want to say, hey, use the link below because I don't want to tell you what time I'm available. I don't want it to sound like that. you guys are going to get a copy of all these presentations. You're going to get a copy of the recording. So you guys go back, use these 3 prompts, use these 3 rough drafts as something to say. I've said this so many times probably with all of you, and I've never had anyone come back and say, hey, that was rude, I'm not doing that. Almost always something simple like this can work, change your signature, and there we go. Now, we are getting here at the very end of the day. I've got a decent amount of work done, and now I want to get some feedback from my team. I may need feedback from my team internally. I may need feedback for you guys. I may try to create a Microsoft form that chose not to work a few minutes ago. But Microsoft Forms is an online feedback tool. You can do surveys, polls, quizzes, anonymous feedback we'll talk about in just a moment, because I think that is one of the most beneficial things that we have created here at ComTech. It really is it's awesome. When you go into Microsoft Forms, a lot of times the first thing I hear is, I don't really know what to do. I don't know what questions to ask. I want to create a survey for my staff. I want to create a survey for a presentation, but I can't really think of all the questions. Number one, they have a lot of templates there for you. So choose any of the templates. The first one is Organize Successful Events. That one, I would choose that one if I was going to try to do a presentation or a survey on this presentation. I would choose that, and it would give you tons of options. If you want to, you can create one from scratch. So if I click New Form, and let me tell you about a form that I created that I just can't recommend enough, and that is a management feedback form. If you actually want feedback from your employees, maybe you don't. If you don't do this. If you do, then create management feedback, click on text, and when you do that, you are going to see there's 2 questions I put in here. The first one is, please tell us anything that you would like, anything you'd like. That one's required. You see the little star there? That one's required. The second one is optional. Enter your name if you'd like for management to know who's submitting this request. I learned to put the second one in there because I had some of our employees filling this out saying, I've really got a problem with my health benefits. I can't get this to work, I can't get this to work, and then I'm going, but I don't know who you are. I can't help you. You should have just sent me an email. But this is a chance for your team to give you guys any feedback. So we created this. A couple of advanced settings I wanted to highlight, 2 actually. The first is on the left-hand side is only people in ComTech can respond to this link. That way, if this link gets out to our clients or to someone else, they can't spam me with a whole bunch of garbage. And then the second thing is on the bottom right is I want an email notification of each response. That way, I can have this link. I'll go to the next slide so you can see. I'll have that link. I can send it out to all of our staff and say at any time, number one, my door's open all the time anyway. But if you feel like you need to say something, good, bad, ugly, whatever it is, and you don't want to come to me, that's fine. Use the link, and anytime somebody fills that out, that link has been active for us for about 2 years now. And anytime anybody fills it out, I don't have to keep checking every week saying, okay, did somebody fill it out? Did somebody not? Instead, it just emails me, and then I handle it when I get the email. I've gotten a lot of good feedback from this, from our team, even just the good things. I mean, I'll get random notes of, hey, we really appreciate what you did here or whatever it is, and it's nice. It'd be nice to be able to go back and tell the person thank you, but that's fine. It doesn't matter to me. I just want them to know they have a feedback mechanism. For forms, some of the other things that we use it for, we have a Christmas party every year. We say, hey, do you guys want to do it at Topgolf? Do you want to do it over here? Do you want steak? Do you want chicken? How many people are you bringing? These are the types of things that I see that are really good for Microsoft Forms, because most of the time, people, whoever accounting or HR, they send one big email out and say, hey, everybody give me your feedback. And then the accounting person or whoever it is has to sit there and try to look through and go, okay, Jim said he was bringing 3 people, and they're updating an Excel spreadsheet all of this stuff, the technology can do it for you. You don't have to do all that work. Now, again, I've given a number of tips here, so let's try and wrap this up. Let me give you some very practical tips with each one of the tools that I've talked about. If you haven't wrote down 1 to 3 things, this is your time. I'm going to highlight them in red for you, all the items that are very, very specific and very easy. There's our day, our normal day, and we're going to start with OneNote. So with OneNote, as a reminder, it is a place to document all your notes in one place, and remember, as the red items are your to-dos. So try that daily and weekly schedule. I know for a fact that not everybody, especially when you first see this, everybody goes, well, I don't know. I just don't know if I can do that. I've got so many meetings, whatever it may be. For me, I do it, but I also recognize that when I actually pull up my Outlook, I pull up my calendar, and I compare that to how many items I'm going to pull off of my weekly list. That way I don't end up trying to add a bunch, and then I look up at my Outlook calendar and say, oh, well, I'm in meetings for six hours of the day. I'm not going to be able to get anything done. Hopefully that makes sense. But try that weekly and daily schedule. I'm telling you, it's well worth it when you get used to it. A lot of our team, especially our management team, is using this thing that I created, that weekly and daily schedule, and that's how they manage their time. On Microsoft Teams, a lot of you said that you are using it, so definitely use it to chat and video with your team, especially if you have anyone working from home. If you have anyone working from home and they're not using Teams, I really don't understand how you're functioning. I don't understand how you can't easily chat back and forth. It's possible that you're doing it through email, but chat and video certainly seems to be a larger thing or a bigger thing. I know one tip I didn't have here on the slide that I'll tell you is if you have anyone working from home, video is, at least in our organization at ComTech, video is 100% on all the time. We do a video call. If I call you on Teams, which is what we pretty much always do internally, we're always going to have video on just so we can try to replicate like I walked into your office. So we like Teams a lot. Your to-do there is test the scheduling assistant. So give it a try. Microsoft Outlook also has the scheduling assistant built into it. So the next time someone says, are you available? And you say, no, I'm not. Your immediate response is no. What time are you available? Whatever it may be, just try to, if you can, stop the back and forth and immediately just go. I'm just going to go to a scheduling assistant and I'm just going to grab a time on your calendar. With Microsoft Stream, remember, that is an internal learning library. It is your internal YouTube. So a lot of people that I talk with and say, hey, use Microsoft Stream. A lot of times people say, well, I really don't know what videos to create. Like, what am I supposed to say? And number one, I don't know what I'm going to say. And number two, I'm not that good on video. You can turn your video off. You can just share your desktop screen. You don't have to. If you're doing meetings, then it's clear why you would use this. But some people say, I want to create some internal videos, but I'm not sure what to create. Create a page in OneNote. This is what I do. I create a page in OneNote. Every question that I'm asked, I just pay attention to it. Every question that I'm asked, I try to say, okay, is that a question that I get asked often? If it is, can it be answered by video? A good example with this is we do our quarterly, or now it's semi-annual, company update. We go through, for the whole company, we go through financials, we go through, hey, this is what we've got coming up. We did one back in July for the first 6 months. We talked a lot about Connect, talked a lot about this event. These are all the things that's going on. This is how many tickets we've worked. All these things, these are new employees, whatever it may be. We can take all of those videos, document every single one, and new employees are required to watch the last 4 to 5 meetings, quarterly meetings that we had. And the reason is because then they get to see, okay, number one, this company shares a lot of information, internally. We share a lot of information. This is the company culture that we're going to joke a bunch. We're on a bunch of video calls. And they can also see, okay, 2 years ago, we were this size. We were supporting this many clients. Now we're this size. We can see that we're growing. Everything's going good. But I've been told by new employees that it just really set the tone of, okay, I'm coming to work here, and these guys are willing to share with me the last 4 meetings that they had talking about what was going on. And it just it goes a lot. I think it goes a long way because it goes into our values. We go over lots of things. And it's a good different way to show that instead of just sitting down in a employee orientation saying, okay, our values are this, whatever it may be. It's different if they hear it 4 or 5 times in different ways in a meeting. Next thing is OneDrive. So store all your documents in one place. I've already told you what I do as far as recurring meetings. If I've got management meetings or whatever it is, I share that folder and I share that agenda and I say, guys, it's your responsibility to go and update the food agenda or to put anything on the agenda. I don't know if you guys have ever had a meeting where you show up and say, okay, I've passed out the agenda, we've all talked about it, and then as soon as the meeting starts, somebody says, oh, I need to add something to the agenda. And if you're the one organizing the meetings like I am, I go, yeah, we just went over this. You should have sent this over a long time ago. We didn't have time in it. On the to-do is if you have multiple desktops, if you have a laptop, a desktop, multiple places that you work, ask ComTech to help you make all of them seamless. We certainly can do that, and we're definitely willing to do that. On bookings, this, again, is going to reduce that back and forth, and then your one to do is create a scheduling link and then create that email signature. Of course, if you don't know how to do this, talk to any of our staff. We'll be more than happy to walk you through it, and we'll help you and make sure it all makes sense. But that one tip right there has made, for me, it's made a huge difference, and it's reduced a lot of the back and forth. I will tell you that even if you send that link out to your client and say, hey, can you use this link, whatever it is, you're still going to get about 20% or so of people that reply back and say, so are you available on Tuesday? So it's not, it's not guaranteed that they're going to use it, but it still saves time when people do use it. And one other thing on that is you also can, if the end user does book a time using that link, they then have the ability to go in and click cancel or reschedule. So if something comes up on their side, they can easily go in and say reschedule for the next available time. On forms, as we talked about, you can create forms, quizzes, surveys, live demos that don't work. But your one to do is go back through, as I said, this will be recorded, you guys will get the slides. Go back through, if you want the feedback from your team, and create just step by step. I stepped you through new form, choose this, say this, send the link out. It's really that simple. I think you'll, at least for us, if you're like us, we were surprised at the amount of feedback that we received. And I actually send that link out once every quarter. I have an Outlook reminder that triggers off, and I just send the exact same email that says, just as a reminder, you guys can always give us feedback directly, or you can use this link. And that's really good also for new employees, because a lot of times we create, or at least I do, I create really what I think are really cool things, and then I show them in a management meeting or a meeting with the whole staff, and then a year goes by, and I haven't said a word about them, and we've hired 5 employees, and none of the employees know anything about that really cool thing. They don't realize we could have used this stuff. So I have that quarterly reminder to just say, you can use all of these things. Now, with that, I hope that you guys have seen how I go through a day, how we use some of these other tools, and if you have any questions, I'll be here all day. Thank you.